Do you think the style of coaching has changed from when you coach to now? When I talk to minor hockey league coaches, they say when you're in the room, you have to have that censorship. You can't be saying certain things. And when I think back to my Pee Wee band and midget days, there was definitely times where you got to let a guy know how you feel. Do you find when you coached, you were in the right era for your time and your coaching style, or do you think that you could still be doing it right now in today's game?
I think I could have been. I'm a bit much at times, but part of that, I'd like to think that for the most part, if a guy played hard, I could rip a strip off him and, within look at him the next day or before he leaves practice, and there could be a nod or something,
Yeah.
let him know I just have to be like that. But I'm not sure you can be quite as aggressive, and you really got to watch what you say, because there's a lot of things that are said and have been said in our era that you don't mean any harm by, and it's just taken the wrong way, and that's certainly been something my players have joked about with me. But
You got guys like me coming to mic up. You're like, fuck,
Yeah.
Belanger's here again.
Well, as soon as I see a mic, I mean, there's always guys that are going to have stories and so forth, and I don't profess to be the guy that was I was always caring, but I wasn't the guy that always came off easy. But I handpicked all the guys. I always felt that I had their best interests. But you got to push kids. I mean, you're talking about the kind of the volume of people that it takes that are get into having coaches, and then you're trying to make it to the last 0.01%. Sometimes they need a little bit more than they need a real reality of life.
Not like intimidation, but a little intimidation. It's like, let's get going here. There's nothing wrong with intimidation. I don't think at that age.
No, and I've said it, and I'm trying to pick. I've been angry at Matt, my own son. I'm trying to think of examples where it's not acceptable.
Yeah,
it's not acceptable behavior. It's not acceptable way to play. It's not this. You're going to be remembered by this. But yeah, I think that the coaching has changed. I think there's a lot of coaches now that are looking in their rearview mirrors a little bit. And I think it's the right way to go, because in general, you're talking about the masses. We're talking about how collectively a community and take care of their kids and so forth like that. But again, when you start getting up to these higher levels, I don't think anybody, you got to leave, gender, race, everything, all of that out, and a lot of other things. But you can't let your true feelings not be heard if you're trying to help a kid. So I guess you have to kind of reinvent a way of presenting it, I guess.
Has Noggs reached out to you at all and asked for advice in his role right now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He has. Yeah.
What are some questions he's asked you?
But recruiting questions. What do you think of this player? Is this a good idea? This kind of a theme in practice.
Cool.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of coaches, even the ones that compete against each other.
Yeah.
We talk.
Like in the same league, like at the same time, like you'd have really.
Yeah. It's sometimes we're just venting, but I mean, in the big picture, you still got to get your guys to do it. But I've talked to some of the other coaches, and I said, we break our practices up here, and like last year, the guys all said, this is Tyler ran practices, and I said basically, run the practice, because he runs a great practice.
He does,
and he had music on, and he was doing this and that, and I came in the rink with my coffee a little late. They're all, I didn't think you were coming to the rink. I said, well, I got to get out of the house.
That's the only reason you're here, just to get out of the house.
Yeah,
I got to go, honey. I'm out of here.
There's chores to do. But then you get there, and then I got to go all the guys, and they'd be going, hey, Diney, today we finally had fun in practice. You know what I mean? I said, good. You had fun today. I said, tomorrow's put on your buckles, because you're doing one-on-ones all day and tomorrow. Yeah. You can't dodge it. You can present it all any way you want it.
Yeah.
But at one point, if you got to get bigger, stronger, faster, if you have to get better at something, you have to address that. Yeah. So, I'm learned to say maybe there's a day in practice you should put on some music, but, I just not it's not what I do.
Yeah.
But it worked. The guys appreciate it. So that's where you have to kind of take some of this insight and roll with it, because kids are different. No question.
Do you miss it? Do you miss coaching?
Yeah, I actually do. I actually go to some games now, and it's kind of neat. I'll go to a game, and it's easy to pick out everybody's issues of their team. I mean, you could do that with all of my teams as well. But then you go to you go watch a team like Charlottetown or someone playing with Jimmy Holt, and then you go, that guy gets a lot out of his team. Like, just all on the same page. They're all just like moving parts. but it doesn't impede their skill. You know what I mean? They still get a chance, but you just see them all working together. And I think what a treat for a kid that wants to get drafted to a program, spend 3 or 4 years there and get better. You really start realizing how much of coaching can make an impact on a kid's career even.
At that age especially.
Oh yeah,
Junior.
just the good habits and just like some of these kids have never been talked hard to or down to. They've never faced any adversity, you know. Fill the net, fill the net, fill the net, and then all of a sudden they get cut from a team and they're standing on your doorstep, and first time you kind of get in their face, they don't know how to take it. You know, they really don't. So, and then there's other kids that just have faced adversity their whole life, and it doesn't matter. They're there to play. You know, they're there to play and they're there to learn. But there's a lot of different tactics in the whole process.
Definitely. There's coaches out there in my life that have helped me. You know, I'm not saying I've gone through a lot of adversity in my childhood, but, you know, when I hit that band and midget age, when, you know, hockey is my life, and I want to make the major junior level, and, you know, looking back on it, some coaches, you know, you think they're being a dick. You go home, you fuck Jesus Christ, you motherfucker. And then, you know, looking back today, a 29-year-old man, I look at those moments and they help me today. There's not really a lot that can, you know, there's things that throw me off my game, sure, but it'd be a lot worse if I didn't get yelled at and called a motherfucker every now and then. You know, it's hard to realize at that time, but
I've always said to the guys, you know, when I come in here, it's up to, you know, I even said to my captains, I said, guys, you know what your real job is to translate my profanities and my horribly presented word, you know, speech. Just present it to them the way you think it is. We had a bad first. I didn't see anything, so you called them all out. And, you know, the guys would be going, well, he's a dick, you know, this and that. Well, guys, you're playing against this team. We've had 6 shots. They have 18. You beat them handily the last 3 times. Look in the mirror. So I'm just coming in here, guys. I've exhausted everything. I come in here and I could buy you French fries. I could tell you I'm going to give you a free pop after the game. I've tried everything. So it almost seemed at times, and I've said this, guys, the worse I treated some of my teams, not all the time, but you know what I mean, not having a real great sense of humor on game day and so forth, the better they played. And when I go in and practice and I'm loose and everything, everybody's loose, then they were loose.
Yeah.
So I kind of said, you guys got to make up your mind which Trevor you want. You want the asshole?
Yeah.
Then you got to play well for me to loosen up. But when I loosen up, you don't. You do too.
Yeah. Could you tell this from warm up? If you go into the rink and you're being the hard ass Trevor compared to going into the rink being the loosey goosey Trevor, could you tell in warm up?
I have.
Yeah.
You know, but can I say that was? But also times I've thought, okay, these guys are really ripe for the picking, and we've come up with a really good effort too. So sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. But again, when collectively, if there's an 84-game schedule, or in our case, a 30-game schedule, I guess my biggest thing was, and I had this at times, you didn't have to have 30, and then before the game, after the first half second, you didn't have to have 3 times 30, 90 pregame speeches to get your guys going.
Oh, sorry.
Because you got a dressing room of guys or a leadership in the dressing room that makes it unacceptable to have those. I shouldn't even get to me. You know, your captains, your leadership group should step in. And at times when I've had that, I felt we had a little bit of it last year. You know, I felt that I could go in and say less because I really felt that dressing room wanted it, and they knew what they had to do. They knew they had a bad period. But there's other times when you'd have to go in and literally give them a period. They came the same way. You blast them.
Yeah.
Take away their timeout after the game, so you know they're not going out or whatever, and all of a sudden they come up with a better effort.
Yeah.
But I think it's passable. I think players got to start putting that on their own shoulders. It's their career.
Yeah.
You know.
When you're talking about there a second ago, okay, when you go in and you're a bit of a hard ass and then they play how you want them to play, is that the same thing as what you were just talking about with the coach in Charlottetown and you see them all playing together aligned? Is there a difference between the team playing how you want them to play compared to this team is in sync of how I want them to play? Is there a difference?
Well, I've talked to players and I've talked to a lot of players, and they usually have to go through the experience, but when they're evaluating their coaches after everything's over, it's amazing how many of them will say, you know, that guy was a rotten bastard, but oh, it was his way, it was everything. But then they realized later that those are the dynamics. That's what the lead dog does. That's what the lead of anybody. You
Yeah.
gotta get 20 guys motivated to do things they don't want to do. And how you do that is your own way, but kissing their ass doesn't necessarily work with kids today, because their whole life they've had their ass kissed, their parents kissed their ass. The parents have created this problem, and then there's other guys that just don't need that. So it's hard. It's hard to get in behind them, and then a guy like Jimmy Halton, for instance, I know there's guys that just think, oh God, he's going to lose his marbles. Or you hear the guys in the press box. Sorry, I'm kind of get my thought back here.
Oh, go for it.
And they've said he's going to scorch the paint right off the walls in there. They know Jimmy. Yeah. They know who Jim Halton is. Yeah. Jim Halton is not going to wait till after the game and lose the game. He's going to salvage it right there, put his foot down. So I'm sure there's guys that thought he is a hard ass, but it's not after they're done. They go, man, he was a good coach. And then they'll talk about the guy that was the great guy, and did you win anything? And they go, no. And then, what did he used to say to you? Well, not much. He just leaned on the glass and nice try. Well, then guys realize, gee, that was a mistake. That's not who I wanted. At the time, they thought that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
But, I really do think you need to, again, make people do things they want to do in pursuit of that goal. And once they get the goal, they look back and go, gee, that wasn't the best ride there, but I feel really good about it. And if they fail at it easily, then maybe they'll look at that. But it's again, people, it's hard to focus on doing things that cause you short-term pain, thinking you're going to get long-term gain.